Okay, hello, my name is Rachel Caldwell, and today I'm going to be looking at the last question in the Media Studies final piece evaluation, which is looking back at your preliminary task. What do you feel you have learnt in the progression from it to the full product? Um, so this is just generally going to be a video of me speaking, so it's not that interesting. So to answer this question, I'm going to look at 4 key areas within my media product: planning for the final product, camera angles used, organisation of actors, and the editing process. Also within this, I'm going to conclude my overall evaluation. For this, it is probably best for you to have the final product and the preliminary task at your disposal. Say, for example, have them open both on your computer screen while listening to me. Just turn the sound down. Okay. Also, I just want to apologise for any background sound that you may hear. This is my home laptop, so therefore I can't get rid of the background noise. I'm not readily available to products to get rid of that, and it also picks up the noise of me scrolling down pages. So I just want to let you know about that as well. Okay, so I'm going to begin now, and this is under the area of planning. So when we first began our preliminary task, we were not actually sure how we were to go about it. It was the first time we'd been given such a responsibility, and therefore the planning for the final film wasn't well completed. We changed our minds several times in the story we were aiming for, originally beginning with a romantic genre of film and ending with a more comedic one. This meant that a lot of our time was wasted with tasks that were not actually going to contribute to the final product. However, this indecision and bad time management provided us with the skills to make better use of the time we had for our final piece. We stuck with our original genre, and although the storyboards have changed a bit, the general storyline has not. I personally did a lot of in-depth research for the final piece, looking into blogs and home videos made by people in the situation we were trying to portray. And obviously, because the situation we were trying to portray was so emotional and so dramatic, it was actually quite difficult and upsetting to read some of these, but I knew that it would benefit me in the long run. Okay, so between ourselves, me and Maria, we also set out deadlines for things to be completed. For example, we set a date around the start of April to have all our research complete and for filming to begin. I therefore think that overall my own time management and research skills and our skills as a group have improved a great deal from the preliminary exercise to the final piece. It is very obvious on reflection on my preliminary task that we were only getting used to the manoeuvring of the camera. This is easily seen through shots and cuts between scenes. They're very jumpy and very clear where our scenes end and where we put things in. This is an area I'm not too concerned about, as I wanted to get in as many camera techniques and angles in order to improve my professionalism with these. In particular, one area where I did have great difficulty with was staying true to the 180-degree rule. We had to scrap a lot of good filming because I didn't realise that I had broke it. I think also, on another point, that all of the variation in camera techniques was good to give me the practice with the camera and experience of the different techniques available. I think there is too many variations of shots, and therefore detracts from the professionalism of the preliminary piece. Another area, as I previously said, about the cuts and stuff is the continuity. Was difficult for me to grasp within the preliminary piece. With the different background sounds within the video also, such as different times of day, different lighting, we were not able to keep the film continuous as though it had been filmed all in one day, which obviously it was supposed to have looked like because it was an interview. That problem was erased in our final piece because there's no speaking. We did originally intend to have a monologue at the start, which I have mentioned already in the evaluation, but when we looked at it with just music and no speaking, it did turn out to be more professional. So overall, when I look while I look at my final piece, and there is no set camera angle, and the continuity is quite split up between the cuts from Tony to me, the cut again. It's very jumpy, but it's meant to be like that. The film flows together actually, and is more professional due to the same kind of scenes using the same angles and techniques. An example is just in the scene of Tony. Every scene used within that film was filmed on the same day, so therefore his hair, the way he was sitting, the arch of his back was all exactly the same, and the lighting was the same, so that did help a lot. I think another area of this was the better use of equipment with the tripod, so when we were getting steady shots, they were steady, there was no real moving about. We did use a handheld camera for a lot of our filming, but that was to give it that more home video feel. But when we did use steady shots, we did make use of the tripod, and I got more comfortable in the use of it and the different ways we can move it up to bring the camera up higher and lower. So yeah, this is in the area of organisation of actors. Very few actors were needed to complete our final piece. I myself, as you can see, was one of the actors in the final piece. I also used my own mum and dad, my cousin and my best friend within as other extras. So that meant that the time needed for searching for actors was cut down to a minimum. Also, because of the nature of our film, there wasn't as much need for organisation of costumes and settings. As I have previously said, costumes were very natural when we were asking actors to come and take part. We told them to dress as if it was a normal day. We didn't want them to try and put anything on, and with the settings as well in my own house and in Musgrave Park, all quite close to me, they obviously felt more comfortable, and therefore that portrayed through it. In my preliminary, we had actually gone through several actors, including me, another boy called Leif, another boy called Daniel, in the process of finding our final actors. This was mainly because of the time restraints in school, and not everyone we chose were available at the time we were filming, and also because of the professionalism with how they carried themselves in the films. Sometimes it just wasn't suiting very well. I think editing is the biggest area where we can see a difference between my final piece and the preliminary piece. In our final piece, we used a variety of techniques, including playing about with the colour filters, the saturation, the gamma, the contrast, the exposure. Another thing we used was the bokeh dots that's used on the photographs. It gives a glittery sort of effect, therefore portraying that sort of side of innocence. Ken Burns was also another area we used, that was when zoomed up on the still images, giving them that moving quality that we did originally plan for, but also keeping it more professional and steady. And yeah, we also downloaded a Super 8mm plugin for Final Cut, which is used on the clips of me and the clips of my mum and my dad and my cousin, to give it that older feel, that home video feel. Another area that is kind of within this is in filming our final piece, it took less time than our preliminary because we had a better organised schedule. This therefore meant there was more time for us to work on the editing process. Obviously, I think this improved the editing for our final piece a great deal. During editing of our final piece, we still had a lot to learn, but on top of this, we had a background knowledge which we developed during our preliminary. Within our preliminary, we didn't do very much in the way of editing. We did use different preset effects on Final Cut Pro, but they weren't really suited to the final piece we ended up with for the preliminary, so many of them are actually taken off. The main changes we did stick with was transitions and brightening up pictures and adding a slow motion effect. Okay, so this is in conclusion to this question. Overall, when I reflect on watching my preliminary and my final piece simultaneously, I can't see many differences between the two. I would conclude that my final piece is more professional and a clearer effort has gone into it. I think it is clear to see that our preliminary was a more rushed exercise. I think what made our final piece so much better was the better organisational skills we had developed from our preliminary and how we applied them at the beginning of the task of our final piece. Um, so that is the last question, and then this is the overall conclusion for my evaluation. So, in conclusion, to my evaluation of my final product, I'm very pleased with the final outcome personally. I did put a lot of time and effort into making this piece successful, and in myself, I feel that the effort and work and time has paid off. I've applied my knowledge that I've developed throughout the year through various exercises and activities to make a professional film, and with these skills, I hope in the future that I will be able to build upon this and make what I think is an even more professional piece. So that is me concluded for my valuation. I would just like to thank you very much for taking the time and effort to go through my evaluation. I know it can be quite a tedious exercise, but I hope when you watched our final piece you get as much enjoyment out of it as we did get when making it. So thank you very much and goodbye.